In late 2015, the world was introduced to Donald Trump, or more specifically, the rhetoric that would become the 2016 election.
I can just say this. More people are in this country right now illegally than ever before. I will build a better wall, and I'll build it for cheaper, and Mexico will pay, if that's your next question.
Yeah, how do you get Mexico to pay?
Because they are ripping us left and right. Mexico.
And the Mexican comments, why not say, maybe I went too far, poor choice of words, or even, I'm sorry?
I don't have to say that. Look, the Mexican border is a sieve. People are pouring through our country, into our country. We don't know who they are, where they are. They come from all over the world, not Mexican. I employ thousands of Mexicans. I've employed over the years many thousands of Mexicans. Right. I love the Mexican people. They're fantastic. They are not our friend, believe me. But they're killing us economically. They're sending people that have lots of problems, and they're bringing those problems with us. They're bringing drugs, they're bringing crime, they're rapists, and some, I assume, are good people. But I speak to border guards, and they tell us what we're getting. And it only makes common sense. It only makes common sense. They're sending us not the right people. It's coming from more than Mexico. It's coming from all over South and Latin America, and it's coming probably from the Middle East. Radicalism and extremism spreading in your schools and throughout your communities.
Reactions erupted all around the nation and the world, some in favor of his message and many more against it. Donald Trump's rhetoric in the election began encouraging and inspiring many people to act on their prejudices.
Anyway, like any set of ideas, Islam is like a religion. Any set of ideas, it deserves to be scrutinized. Well, I have scrutinized it, and I have found it wanting. I have found it lacking. Everywhere there is Islam, you will find women oppressed. Everywhere there is Islam, you will find... You're wearing a hijab in the United States of America. What is wrong with you?
The University of New Mexico is home to more than 1,800 international students and scholars.
You are so welcome here.
UNM 欢迎你. You are totally welcome here.
Eres bienvenido aquí.
مرحبا بكم هنا.
I was an international student who came to this country to study, and I feel very welcome here. You are also welcome here.
You are welcome here.
Du bist herzlich willkommen.
You are welcome here.
UNM has clearly expressed their openness to welcoming immigrants. So I sat down with a student here at the University of New Mexico who immigrated from Chihuahua, Mexico, to discuss how comfortable she feels here at the university.
I feel comfortable because I like it, and I learned to like it, and also like I told myself I need to be comfortable in this place if I really want to graduate and be someone in life.
Donald Trump promised he would take executive action in reversing the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals, or DACA, which was enacted by President Obama, providing young immigrants with work and guarded them from deportation.
Since the Trump administration has moved into office, has your comfort levels shifted or changed in any way?
Oh yeah, of course. I mean, a lot of people just tell me you have to be careful at the university because there could be the ICE could go in there and just try to deport you. And
so far as I know, there's no like
policy that's been signed yet that kind of, makes being an immigrant like me hard. There's no legit law that makes my life hard right now. But the rhetoric surrounding immigrants and immigration has changed significantly from Obama to Donald Trump. The talk of you're an immigrant, you stole our jobs, we actually don't need you in this country because, an American can do the job that your mom is doing as a teacher. I've heard that more often now than in Barack Obama's time. And because they were empowered by Donald Trump. Because that's how he talks, that's how he spread his message in his campaign, I see a lot of miseducation becoming the more prominent, rhetoric, narrative. There's no such thing as immigrants stealing jobs. Because I have a job, that means I can spend money to make more jobs, right? It helps the economy to have immigrants settle in. And, if they look closely, my mom's a teacher, right? There is a need for teachers in this country because the American college system is just not churning out enough teachers. And that we can go into education and we can go into all that stuff. Why there's not enough teachers. The teachers don't get paid, But immigrants would gladly work for that because, that's bigger than their salary in the Philippines. But Americans is no, teachers get paid $30,000. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to invest my college in engineering or blah, blah, blah. And so you see a shortage of educators. And so my mom got hired, I'm not stealing anybody's job. I'm actually helping create jobs because my mom's teaching students to become professionals in the future. But, that rhetoric becomes more, the opposite of that rhetoric is becoming more prominent. Thing. And Donald Trump saying, American jobs for Americans, he's trying to put laws into place to make that happen. And we'll see what happens, I don't want to be afraid. I don't want to be scared when my mom loses a job. They're slashing education funding, right? With this new education secretary that doesn't know what she's doing. And the first thing to go would be special education, which is my mom's, field. So what's she gonna do after that? So that's in the future. I'm sure people will fight that tooth and nail. Which I'm more encouraged by that than discouraged by Donald Trump. I'm more encouraged by seeing people that would not necessarily have been as vocal during Obama's time, but now are coming out to protest and fighting back and resisting. So yeah, I see that difference, and I don't want to approach it with fear. Because ultimately I have faith in God. But there's reality that those words that they do and the laws they sign have consequences for people like me and people like my friends, that are in the immigrant community. So yeah, I don't know how to approach it. We'll just see.
In an attempt to assist immigrants and prevent families from falling apart, many cities have taken up the title of sanctuary cities. Mayors across the nation have asked police officers to not implement any immigration laws, despite threats of defunding.
In California, immigrants are an integral part of who we are and what we become.
Governor Jerry Brown's message this week was blunt.
Let me be clear. We will defend everybody, every man, woman, and child who's come here for a better life and has contributed to the well-being of our state.
California has 18 sanctuary cities. Mayor Eric Garcetti has instructed police not to enforce immigration laws.
Even if it threatens federal funding in Los Angeles, you stand to get up to $500 million this year.
These are dollars that protect our port, our airport, keep homeless veterans off the streets.
You're saying pulling funding from LA could actually hurt the rest of the country?
No question.
Inspired by the idea of sanctuary cities, campuses began to follow by identifying as sanctuary campuses. I sat down with Global Office Assistant Director Linda Melville to discuss sanctuary campuses and what it means.
What does the university have to do to become a sanctuary campus?
I don't have a lot of involvement with the sanctuary part of this because what we're talking about is a set of people that are kind of outside of that. I think that, and I've attended a few sessions where I think sanctuary is kind of a feel-good thing. I don't know how much legal standing there is behind sanctuary. So, I know that there have been these typical places that have been outlined by the government as being places where if the government would sort of agree to not go fetch people who they felt were breaking the rules in some way or another, right? Whether it's somebody who's violated the rules of the immigration status or entered unlawfully or whatever it is. And traditionally those have been religious places, hospitals, school campuses, which, I think there's some ambiguity as to whether or not they intended that, whoever was talking about it meant for it to be universities, but one would guess universities go on that school because they wanted people to go to school, right? They wanted people to be able to go to the hospital. I think what's not included in there is courtrooms and any kind of legal system thing, right? So I think that, this is not me personally, this is just me following this, but, one of the arguments of a lot of cities has been, it's a public safety issue. We want law enforcement we want people to call when there's a domestic violence situation going on. We want people to be able to drive cars and buy health insurance. We want people to, if people are going to be here, we want them to be able to conduct their lives as the rest of the citizenry would conduct their lives. And so we want to create an environment where people aren't afraid to do that. And so there are cities and campuses that have said, we're announcing that this is a location where we don't want law enforcement, we don't want government immigration officials to come, and we're not going to collaborate in the ways that immigration might ask. So during the Obama administration, their immigration priority was to seek to deport people who had felony convictions, but to leave everybody else alone. So they were asking for law enforcement in certain in cities, when you arrest somebody for a charge and they already have outstanding convictions and they're not lawfully present, we want you to notify us, and instead of releasing them, we want you to transfer them into federal government custody. And so my understanding is that the sanctuary cities were saying we're not going to do that because they wanted people to be able to step forward and report crime.
Yeah, I've definitely heard of sanctuary cities where, like if you're an illegal immigrant, undocumented immigrant, that you don't need to, you can kind of find refuge there and not be afraid of immigration or customs like knocking on your door and deporting you. Kind of a place where you'll be safe, basically.
Linda explained that sanctuary campuses have no legal support, making it very difficult to enforce.
One of the things that's interesting is they really can do whatever they want. I mean, if they want to come, and ICE comes on campus, ICE has, this is a public campus for one, right? And I think that people have been really not, upset trying to prevent ICE from taking anybody out of the classroom, for example. But, for example, with immigration rules for students, they provide me a written subpoena that's from ICE on a person who's on a student visa, and I have to comply and give them education records. They usually don't have much in them, but it's what's this person's situation. So that is one way that the university has to comply with some kind of ICE requests. And so the sanctuary part would apply, I would think, to people who are not in that group of people, in that sort of group that we're required to monitor. For lack of better wording, a gentleman's agreement that we're gonna agree to not come into these places. But I don't know if there's no, as far as I know, there's no law that says the federal government has to abide that, right?
A federal judge was able to put a hold on Trump's threat of defunding sanctuary cities. calling it unconstitutional. As long as we remain united and continue to trust in our checks and balances that have already prevented many of Trump's unconstitutional laws, we will be fine and we will not be divided.